Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today for leveraging Khanmigo Teacher Tools. I'm very excited to be with you today. My name is Rebecca Smekla from the Department of Educational Technology. And with me today, I'm going to have Tamsin Storin from Khan Academy. She's going to be presenting live to us. And we also have with us today Elizabeth Hadley. She's going to be answering all of your questions in the chat. So feel free to ask anything you want to know about. Before we get started, again, use the chat box to communicate. If you haven't already, I know you have, but like and subscribe to our channel. You will see those folks in the chat who have a little wrench beside them. Those are the moderators, and they will be answering all those questions you have today. Whew, we have a full day. We've already had quite a few sessions, and we still have some more to go. So if you are still around this afternoon, we'd love to see you back at the second Khanmigo session, which is for our secondary folks. And also at the end of the day, we have Brain Pop. All right, so we are going to get started. I'm going to welcome Tamsin up to the stage with us, and we're going to get started with today's session. Thank you for being here, Tamsin.
Thank you, Rebecca. Welcome, everyone, to Leveraging Khanmigo Teacher Tools for elementary and secondary teachers. Like she said, my name is Tamsin Storin, and I'm the Professional Learning Specialist with Khan Academy. In the chat, you're going to see Elizabeth Hadley. She is from Khan Academy as well, and she will be supporting any questions you have. For those of you who are new to Khan Academy's implementation, these are your support staff from the School District of Palm Beach County by region. And today we're going to go through the Khanmigo Teacher Tools, leveraging Khanmigo Teacher Tools with Google Drive and Google Forms. So before I begin, I'm just going to kind of give a quick little overview of Khan Academy and Khanmigo. Khan Academy is the platform that we all know and love that started out with Sal Khan and his YouTube videos for his niece and nephew that he was tutoring, and has grown exponentially, has tons of courses. It's not just for math anymore. Khanmigo is the embedded AI support that is within the Khan Academy platform. It's not a separate website. Khanmigo is a chatbot that is going to help support teachers in their teaching and help support students with their learning. Today, we're going to focus on Khanmigo Teacher Tools. These are the ones that teachers all have access to that are going to help them create things to engage their students, to differentiate for their students. A lot of times people ask me if they can assign these. These are not assignable in the Khan Academy platform, but they are going to be shown today how you can assign in a way of using your Google workspace that you have with your district. So the first thing I'm going to go to is I'm going to go into my account, and I'm going to show you where you can access these tools. On the top right where you see Khanmigo, you're going to get a drop down, and you're going to click on the button that says Teacher Tools. I'm going to give you a brief overview, and then I'm going to give you some time to try these out yourselves. When you get here, you're going to get all tools shown, and it's a very large list. So if you'd like to condense it by categories, you can click on these at the top. So if I click on Plan, now I can see all the different tools that are kind of geared towards planning. If I click on Create, I'll see all the ones that are meant for creating. You can also click on this star, and it'll add it to your favorites if you want to access them that way. So today I'm going to start with elementary ELA. I'm going to do a couple different demonstrations, and then I'm going to let you guys go ahead and try some out yourself. So what I'm going to do today is third grade ELA R21, reading informational text and structure. So what I would like to do is I'm going to start with planning, and I'm going to plan a lesson hook. Now, if you click on lesson plan, this is going to be, it's a very large document that's going to come out. It will have all of these smaller pieces in it. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that if you'd like to have everything all at once. For demo purposes, I'm going to go through lesson hook. When I get here, it's going to ask me for my grade level. And I have a third grade standard. And it's going to ask me for lesson topic. So for lesson topic, I'm going to put in reading informational text with a dash and structure. The lesson context, what I suggest is making sure you can copy and paste the actual standard, which is the verbiage from the standard. So I just copied it over from the side, and I'm going to paste that entire standard right here just to make sure that everything that is created is standards based. All right, so it's giving me 3 different lesson hooks. So we have an introduction to text structures to explore concept of chronology. Sorry, students can create a timeline, and another one for cause and effect. When I'm in here, if there's an area of something that maybe I want to tweak a little bit, or maybe it's something I'm not really sure about what exactly the intent was, I can highlight that section, and this button's going to pop up to Ask Khanmigo. I'm going to click on Ask Khanmigo, and this time I'm just going to say, try something different. This isn't exactly what I was looking for. Khanmigo will replace and fill in something different here. So now it's a different way of introducing text structures. And if you're like me and like, well, what was there before? I can click on Khanmigo over here on the right, and it'll scroll up and it'll show where I put try something different, and it'll tell me I replaced this text. So I still have what was there before with this. So it's a nice way of kind of seeing what was there if you actually want to use it or if you don't. You can always click this undo button. And if I can undo it, it'll bring it back to what I had. And it's kind of like a miniature embedded Google Doc, right? That you can edit this as you go. Another thing that's really cool is when you're over here and you're chatting with Khanmigo, you can ask Khanmigo for supports. For example, after creating these, I can say, provide scaffolds for my English language learners. So now Khanmigo is going to go through each one, number 1, number 2, and number 3, and give me ideas and supports for scaffolding this for my English language learners. So here's the suggestion for a second one. And like here, if you see it says sentence frames, offer sentence frames, such as, I can ask for sentence frames for everything. So I'm going to go down here and say provide sentence frames. Oops. And Khanmigo is going to give me a sentence frame for each one of these different activities. So here's the first one, second one, and third. So there's a lot of things you can do over here on the side when you're interacting with Khanmigo. Another thing I want to show you is if I highlight this number 2 and click Ask Khanmigo, and I'm going to ask Khanmigo to discuss this. By clicking discuss this, Khanmigo, let me get down there. Khanmigo is going to literally take that suggested activity and give me a ton of details about what was the point of this? Why is it relative? What is the objective for doing this? How am I scaffolding these for ELLs? Talking about time management, how I can collaborate and communicate with this with my students and their peers. So there's a lot of things you can do when you're in here besides just getting that outputted activity. All right, so now I'm going to take one of these lesson hooks. I'm going to take this number 2 and I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste it into a different activity. So I'm going to go back to my tools, and this time we're going to go into create. When I'm in create, I'm going to go into clear directions. I want Khanmigo to create some clear directions for my students when they're doing this activity. So I'm going to go back to 3rd grade, and I'm just pasting right here exactly what Khanmigo had written for that activity for number 2. As you see here, we have steps about each part of the process that you can give to your students or you can display on your board that'll really help your students kind of narrow down exactly what's expected of them for that lesson hook that we prepared. Again, you always have the option to go over here and chat with Khanmigo if you need some supports or highlight something if you want to make any adjustments. All right. And the last thing I'm going to show you for the elementary ELA before we move on to another one is the create and a multiple choice quiz. I'm sticking with the same standard. So I'm going to go to 3rd grade, and I'm only going to put in 3 questions because I don't want this to be too long for right now. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to copy that same standard about explaining text features to contribute to meaning. I'm going to paste it right here. So this again, copy right from the standard, and I'm going to hit generate quiz. All right, so now we have 3 questions because that's what I asked for. What is a text feature? What structure shows events in order they happen, right? And at the bottom, I'm going to get a answer key for each one of those. Now, here's the cool part. how are we going to embed this into our Google Classroom and assign this to students? So here on the top right, you're going to see share, print, and export. Exporting it, you can export it to a Word doc, a PDF, save it to your Google Drive. For sharing, this is a way that you can, it's a new feature where you can copy this link and send it to another fellow teacher, and they will get this pulled up and they can make their own copy and differentiate as they see fit for their students if needed. So I'm going to export this to my Google Drive. Once it's exported to my Google Drive, it's going to say if I want to view this document. I'm going to click on that. It's going to open it up. So now I have what it looks like in Google Drive. So I have these 3 questions. I'm going to go into Google Forms and I'm going to create a quiz using these activities that were created. So I'm going to put in text features into my quiz. And I'm going to go into my settings and I'm going to make it a quiz. I'm going to let them see which questions were answered incorrectly. I'm going to give them 5 points each. I'm going to go back to my questions. Then all I have to do is go over here and I'm going to take my first question and I'm going to copy and paste it into my form. The cool part about this, I know it's annoying to copy and paste, but you can take all 4 of these and copy and paste them at once. And it'll put them A, B, and C, and D. And then when we go back here, number 1, the answer key was A. So I'm going to go put that in here. Answer key is A. You even have the option to give answer feedback. So if I was in here in this multiple choice quiz, I could come on the side and I could ask Khanmigo, provide answer feedback for each question, and I can take and copy and paste those responses into the slide or the Google form as well. Okay, so here tells me for each one, this one's correct and why. This one's incorrect and why. And you can put that into your Google Forms as well, clicking on Add Answer Feedback. Okay, and the cool option. So that is the first thing I wanted to show you. Obviously, you would keep going with the other questions. And then we're going to head over to our Google Classroom. And in my Google Classroom, I'm going to go into create an assignment. Actually, I'm just going to do an assignment. I'm going to say text features. And I'm going to go to my drive. And I'm going to add that text features Google form that we created right here. So now it'll grade it for me, right? Because I created a Google form. I can leave instructions for my students, what I want them to do. Finish the attached quiz. I can pick assignments. It was 3 questions. So I'm going to say, okay, I only want 30 points. I can put all of my students, put it under a topic, and click assign. So that's one way to take something that you create, like a multiple choice quiz, inside of the teacher tools, and then use it for your Google Classroom integration. So that is what I wanted to show you for the first few. I don't see anything in the comments just yet, but I am going to move on to science next for elementary. And again, all of these things can also be used for secondary, any courses. I'm just taking the standards right from the scope and sequence. All right, so now let's see. We have elementary science. I'm going to show you how to create an informational text. Okay, so I want my students to be able to practice with science text, but I am a little low on resources. So I'm going to go in here to grade 3. Just picked it because it was in the middle. And this is about life science. And this is the standard. I'm going to copy it from over here. And the standard is to investigate and describe how plants respond to stimuli, heat, light, and gravity, such as the way plant stems grow toward light and their roots grow downward in response to gravity. And I'm going to ask for 300 words. All right, so now I have an informational text. Again, this is, there's a little note here to make sure you read through it and make sure it makes sense. And when you're in here, you always have the option to click on Khanmigo. And I can even ask for some discussion questions based on this text without even having to go into the discussion prompt tool. So here, Khanmigo just created 10 discussion questions that I can ask while I am reading this with students. Now, if you're someone like me who's not a huge science person, you can always go in here and provide example student responses so I know exactly what I should be expecting from my students. So I love that not only am I going to get the responses, but I don't have to figure out the response goes with what, because right here I have the example of the question that goes with. How can I see what the students see? So in regards to what the students see, it depends on, so if you were taking that and putting it into Google Classroom, this is what it would look like. I'll show you this way. If a student was in your Google Classroom, it would look like this for them. It would see text features, my note of finish the attached quiz. They would click on this, and now they're going to go through and answer the questions, which would look like this to them, right? They would type in their email, and they would start answering through the questions. Not sure if that's exactly what you were looking for, but that is one way to see for the one I just assigned. So again, these are not assignable through the platform. You have to do, it's almost like if I went to any other website and got some resource, what do I do with that resource? Even if I went to Blender. So if I have Blender and they have a quiz, what do I do with it? I can't assign it through Blender, but I can go in and I can take it and put it into my Google Classroom and so on and so forth. So another great feature is that this is fully supported in Spanish, Portuguese, English, and Hindi. So if you wanted to, you can have this translated into other languages just by asking Khanmigo over here at the side. So if I wanted to translate it depends on what you want to translate. If I want just the questions, we'll say I wanted some sentence frames. So I'm going to get sentence frames for these questions that I just asked above. All right, and then I'm going to ask to translate these into Spanish. And we recommend taking the English version and Spanish version and having them side by side for your students so they can kind of start connecting the languages together and having, using those English sentence frames, but having an idea of what they mean from their translated language. So you have that right here. So I'm going to take this informational text. Again, I can export it to my Google Drive. And once it's in my Google Drive, I'm able to then add it to a Google Classroom assignment, right? So if I'm in here and I go back to my Google Classroom, I go to classwork, I can create an assignment, material. I could just put it in as just material, right? So life science text, and I can just hit from Google Drive. And here is that text that I just created. And I can add it for students. And now they have access to this in this assignment that I can post for them. All right. So now that was it for science. I do want to show you what you can kind of take something that's created in here, like I did in the earlier example, and show you how you can take it and do more with it with Khanmigo. So I am going to copy and paste this text that was created. And I'm going into another tool called chunking text. I'm going to paste the text right here that was created by Khanmigo. And life science. And I'm going to chunk it for comprehension. So this is a great tool for your English language learners as well. So now that text that was created, it's going to give students these little miniature main ideas that kind of give them an idea of what each paragraph is going to be about. And so each one of these is a kind of like a main idea topic for the upcoming paragraph that the students are about to read. So that's another cool thing you can do with your students and anything that you create inside of Khanmigo. All right. Next, I'm going to move into mathematics. So I'm going to start with secondary math, but this can be used for any grade or any standard. So I'm going to go into create, and I'm going to do, actually not create, I'm going to start with discussion prompts. So I'm going to go into plan, and I'm going to plan some discussion prompts. And this is the 7th grade AR 3-1 standard. So I'm going to copy that standard right from the big M and paste it right here. And this is on applying understanding of percentages and ratios to solve multi-step real-world problems. I also put in, if I can find it here, the clarification from the big M. This is 7th grade, and I'm going to get some discussion topics, get my students thinking. And here, this part up here, this is all the part that I put in. So there's a clarification 1. And now I have different topics and discussions that I can have with my students. I can always ask over here, what student responses should I expect? Just to give me an idea of what I would like my students to respond with based on these questions. Khanmigo is going to do that. And I love how it takes the question, puts it right with it, so I don't have to guess what goes with what. And it goes for each section. Lots of things you can do when you come in here. So now that I have some discussion topics to get my students thinking, and again, you can translate them into different languages. Now I'm going to show you what to do with one of the words problems that come from the big M. Some of these word problems can be pretty wordy and lengthy, and I'm going to use clear directions. I know it says clear directions, but it's a kind of a little cute workaround to taking a very wordy word problem and turning it into something that students can kind of take step by step. This is literally coming right from that same standard, 7AR31. And I'm going to paste this very, very long word problem about a Surf Pro shop. I'm going to hit write assignment directions. It is going to take that entire word problem and it's going to break it down step by step. I know it's meant for assignment directions, but it's a great tool to use when taking a very wordy word problem and scaffolding it for students. So one thing I like about this too, you could always take out the numbers, right? So if I want to take out the numbers or if you could do that afterwards, like if I brought it into a Google Doc, and you can go through and cut it into strips and allow students to kind of work together in either a small group or in pairs on, okay, which order should these steps go in, kind of as like a preview of making sure they understand the expectations of the assignment. So there's a couple of things you guys can do with these. And again, you always have Khanmigo over on the side to help. And that works for any grade level math, one of my favorites. So someone put in there, as an art educator, it's interesting to see how I could use these tools. Well, if you have a suggestion for a standard, I can put one in, but let's see. We can plan an entire lesson if you wanted to around art. We could plan a lesson hook. I'm not really sure what you guys want to try, but I'm going to give you a chance to go through some of these and try them out and see kind of what you get, right? So if you have some standards for art, so say I want to, let's see, I'm just going to do lesson plan. Say I want to create a lesson plan. Now, if you go through here, this one does start with the Khan Academy content, but I'm going to say painting murals in art. And it'll give me some context that I can use that's already in Khan Academy, but I'm going to go down here and hit provide your own content. So here's where you would paste your learning objective. I don't know if there's one for painting murals. See if I can Google one. Here we go. Students can be able to choose from a range of materials and methods to plan and create works of art. They should be able to also follow or break established conventions. So I'm going to try and copy that from here and pretend that it's one of the ones you guys would use. And then I get to put in a like topic or anything that I think that I might want to make a little bit more relevant. And I'm going to say, Many of my students are from Honduras and are interested in historical paintings. And I'm going to hit create lesson plan. It's a long one, so it's going to give me a second for it to finish before I can go back to the top. All right, so I'm going to go back all the way up to top. It's a long one. It's going to give you a learning objective, student-facing objective, a warm-up, direct instruction. And again, anytime you're like, I don't really like this warm-up, I can just ask Khanmigo to try something different. Or I can ask Khanmigo something specific. I can say, make changes to this. And let's see, we have materials. Use more materials that are readily available. Okay, and so hold on, I might not have clicked the right one here. Sorry. And then Kamigo can go in and choose different things. So now we've got colored pencils, markers. So you always have that option to be able to kind of differentiate anything that's already in and have that be fixed right there and there for you. You have your think, pair, share section, independent practice, exit tickets. So like all the little pieces that you could have made in the individual sections of the tools, you can do it all right here and kind of pull what you would like to use. All right. So anytime you have any type of standard, anything you're about to teach, whatever learning objective you would put on the board, that is something you're going to want to paste in here so that you make sure everything's standards based. All right. Moving on to history. So one of the cool things about the differentiate section is we did the chunk text already, but there's this leveler. Now we want to make sure we always give our students access to grade level rigor, but sometimes, so you don't really want to take a grade level text and make it at a different level per se, unless you're working with maybe ESE students that might be able to have that in their accommodation. But sometimes you can have a text that would be great to use with maybe your second graders, but you're not able to because it is way too hard for them to read. So here's an example of Women in World War I, Societal Impacts. And this comes from the high school US history standard for American imperialism in World War I. So maybe you guys were doing this. This is for a 9th through 12th grade. Maybe this needs to be a little bit something along the lines of a 6th grade content or younger. You can take this text, you can copy the whole text, and it's long. And I'm going to go into here to the leveler, and I'm going to paste the original text. And Women in World War I. And now I would like this to be brought down to a 6th grade level. All right, and now you can see it's not as long, right? So we have, this is just a note to you guys. So over here, World War I changes the roles of women. And so then from here, now you have a much shorter text geared for your 6th graders. That was from an article. And then you can always go over to the side, have it translated. You can ask for discussion questions. Anything you want over here, you can always copy and paste your new text and put it into any of the tools as well. So a lot of times people then say, okay, well, that's great. I've made all these things. Where are they, right? So I went back to my Khanmigo tools. And if I click on my documents, right, I can click here and I will now see everything. Here's my Women in World War I revision, my lesson plan, my surfboard word problem. Everything is here. If you want to share it, you can click share to get a link to share with other teachers. Or if you want to remove it, you can always click remove if you want to clean this up as well. So that's one thing we hear a lot. I'm reading the comments. Well, when it comes to quizzes, I can take, so let's take this text that I just wrote, right? And I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to create a quiz from this text. So back in our tools, I'm going to go into create, the green one, and I'm going to click on question generator. I'm going to pick my 6th grade level. I'm only going to say 3 questions because I don't want it to be writing forever. I'm going to paste that text that we just had from the article that we made in a 6th grade level and generate questions. Okay, so now I had 3 questions and I have 3 answers that students can do. And I can go in here into my Google Forms. And I'm going to hit a blank form. Check the title. Give it a title. And then my first question, I'm going to go over here. And it says, what new roles did women take on during World War I? And paste that right into my first part of the quiz. And I'm going to make this a short answer. So they are going to have to type in that short answer response. Then I'm going to click the plus sign, get my second one, and paste it in here. Make it a short answer response. Okay, and then when you're done with these, this is where you can go into your Google Classroom, like we did with our text features, create an assignment, add that Google form into your assignment for students to click on. Is there a way to differentiate multiple choice versus short answer? That's a good question. So when you are in here, the create, we have questions generator, and those are based on a specific piece of content. So that's based on that text that I put in. Multiple choice quiz is based on a standard. So if I took a standard such as the one for American imperialism, I can copy that standard and I paste it here. I say my 3 questions, 6th grade, or no, this isn't 6th grade, this is a 9th grade standard. And then I'm going to get a multiple choice quiz from that standard. So now you have your first, second, and third question, as well as the answer key. Now, there is a way to take what you had as a, let me go back. So if I'm going to go back into my documents and I'm going to go to that questions generator, I'm going to click on that so it opens a new tab. If I wanted to turn this into a multiple choice quiz, I can go over here and I can highlight this and I could say, make changes to this, turn these into multiple choice questions. Okay. Sometimes the formatting doesn't come out very nicely. And if that happens, I'm going to click undo and get back out to where I was. Click on Khanmigo, and I'm going to put it over here and make it a little easier for me. Sometimes the formatting gets a little funky with multiple choice questions because it's going to put all the information, but it doesn't know to make, put the A, B, C, and D. So now for number 1, we have what new roles did women take on during World War I? And now I have 4 multiple choice questions for responses, as well as the answer key for each one. So you can put that in here. You can paste them, right? So you can change this to A, B, C, and D, right? Or bullet points. And you can copy and paste right from here if you wanted to. Or you can put it into a Google Doc. However, I mean, it wouldn't be necessary to really do all this formatting here if you planned on going and putting it and pasting it into a Google form anyway. But that is something you can do. So at this time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have you guys go in to your teacher tools and kind of play around with some things because I'd love to be able to answer some questions that you might have as you're going through. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to see exactly what you guys chose to do and any outcomes or any more questions that might arise. So to get there, you're going to click on Khanmigo at the top of your platform and you're going to click on teacher tools. And then you're going to have some time to create different tools in the platform. I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. And any questions that pop up, feel free to type them in the chat and I will show you or answer them for you. All right, so I see we have a question from the chat and says, when I find a lesson, it only allows us to use the lesson hook, exit ticket, and lesson plan. I'm not sure if maybe you're in the courses. So if you're inside of a course and you see these, if you click on an assignment, and are you talking about the ones that are up here? You might not see all of them, but you can always click the drop down to create more tools. So when you are another way to get these tools, if you have a content that you want to take from inside of the Khan Academy courses, right? So we have all of our courses up here. You can then click on either these are videos or practice questions. At the top, you will see different links to other tools. So if you only see lesson hook, exit ticket, and lesson plan, you can click on more tools and you can click on these and it'll bring you right into that tool and it'll fill it in based on that standard already for you. And again, it gave me 5 questions, but maybe I want 10. I can change that and generate a quiz that way. Most of the resources, though, that especially for people who don't have content specific in courses right here in Khan Academy, it's best to just take your standards from your scope and sequence and paste it into the tool itself. Just take it either it's wherever you have your scope and sequence that has your objectives and standards and just put it right in. All right. Another cool one that I like to show people is the make it relevant. A lot of times we have to teach kids stuff, especially in math, and we have to go in here and find a way to make it something that they enjoy. So I'm going to go back to the math. Let's see. I'll do elementary math this time. So in elementary math, grade 5, we have dividing multi-digit whole numbers up to 5 digits. So a lot of them are probably not fans of dividing. Why do we have to know this? And then representing their remainders as fractions. So I'm going to say, what about my class students? So my students, oh my gosh, if I could spell, love playing video games and being on their phones. I'm going to hit make it relevant. And again, I just pasted the standard right from the scope and sequence. And so now we have gamified division challenges, leverage students' interest in video games to create engaging division challenges that mimic game mechanics and has an objective. We have an app-based division practice and video game economy simulation. So what you can do then is you can highlight one of these sections and hit Ask Khanmigo and try. And when you click this, discuss this, Khanmigo is going to come over here on the side and give me a lot more details on how to implement this specific section or this specific topic that they created through making it relevant. So I'm going to scroll back up. A lot of information. So now this gives me the idea and the objective, and it says this is relevant to students' interests. It says how it's connected to video games, how it can be interactive, the educational value, tips on implementing it, making your giving clear instructions, anything that you want to get help with in implementing this, you can ask Khanmigo over here on the side. All right, to show what I was working on, all right, I can go back. So I had clicked on differentiate, and I went to make it relevant. In here, I took the standard from math, so MANSO 22, dividing multi-digit whole numbers and representing remainders as fractions. And then here, I told them that my students love video games and love to play on their phones. And then it was able to make it relevant. I can try that with another, let's see, let's go to the science one we were doing earlier with the plants. Investigate and describe how plants respond to stimuli. So I'm going to copy that. Let's try another one. Let's see, my students, what grade is this? This is 3rd grade, love Pokemon. Oops. All right, so now we have Pokemon plant stimuli exploration. Leverage their interest to explore how plants respond to different stimuli, comparing their behaviors to Pokemon abilities. Create an engaging lesson where students investigate how plants react to heat, right? So you can either have it based on Pokemon abilities. This one shows a way to illustrate it based on Pokemon, and another one about a habitat. So if I highlight this and say, all right, well, design a Pokemon habitat, I'm going to need to discuss this because I don't know much about Pokemon. But I'm going to have to learn if I'm going to teach this to my students, right? So then it's going to give me an idea, an objective, and really understanding how I can make this geared towards my students' love of Pokemon. Even has here, develop a rubric that outlines how the project will be graded. We have a rubric generator. It does ask a lot of questions, but I definitely recommend going in and working on that. It'll narrow it down literally by how many points you want, the categories, and then specifically the requirements that you want for each category. So it does ask a lot of questions, but it will give you exactly what you're looking for your rubric. I posted the standard to make a quiz, but the questions that was generated wasn't as rigorous as we practiced in class. How can I make the generated problems more rigorous? Yep. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yep. You can always highlight the text and ask for more rigor. Another thing you can do, if you go here under Learn, you can have this chat with GPT 4.0 mini. And when you come in here, I'm going to take that. Let's go back because I know I have one example of a math question. So this is from the big M. This is the instructional task 1. And I'm going to say, create 3 more problems similar to this one. Oops. For 7th grade math students, put a colon, oops, and paste that one in. So this is just pasted from, I'm going to put quotes on it just in case. I don't know if you need to, but. And now hit enter. And now we have 3 different problems that are similar to the one I just copied and pasted from the instructional task of the big M. And then I don't know about you, but I don't have time to be going through all of that and answering it myself. So I'm going to ask, what are the answers? And now I have the answers, not only the answers, but exactly how to work through each problem. So we have problem 1, showing all the different parts and steps to getting that answer. It's another option that you can do if you want to make something stick to the same rigor. What do I have for secondary ELA? If you have a specific standard for secondary ELA you'd like me to show you, and I can go through and do, it's the same process. So just take the standard that you have from the Florida Best and paste that in there for any of the tools you want to create. All right, so if you're in a quiz and you want to add a question to a quiz, so I'm going to, I don't know if you have a multiple choice or if you're in the questions generator, but it works for either one. So I had this one from earlier today. So I am going to highlight this and I'm going to hit make changes. And we have 6, so I want to make it out of 10. So add 4 more questions. Let me try something different. Oops. I'm going to enter down here and then I'm going to, oops. I'm going to go over the side. Sometimes it gets wonky in the formatting. So I'm going to go over the side and say add 4 more questions. So here's my 4 more questions. And because this one was the one that I asked, let me go back up, for Khanmigo to turn them into multiple choice questions, right? My chat is always saved here. So when I come back, these are the ones that were multiple choice. When I now said add 4 more questions, Khanmigo not only gave me 4 more questions, but kept them in that same format of multiple choice. So now I have them here, as well as the answer key to all of them. So again, always come over to the side and ask Khanmigo for anything you would like to adjust. The tools are kind of designed to really create exactly what you're looking for in regards to what you're creating, right? So if I go into the tool for, let's go back here, for the chat GPT, everything's going to be kind of created in here. So if I say create 5 discussion questions on this standard. First of all, I got to type all that in. And let me go here. I'm going to do the elementary math division. Now everything's kind of created in this chat and not as easy to export. So here's my 5 discussion questions. I don't have that opportunity to go and export it right to my Google Drive. I would have to now copy this, and paste it and bring it into a Google Doc or wherever I would like to do it. So it's an option, but it's a little bit more formatting, and it doesn't always provide the answers like the other one did. So that's probably the biggest difference. Can you type in for ELA, include a writing assignment in which students have to use 4 types of figurative language? Let's see. So I'm going to hit create question generator. Don't know what grade, but I'm going to say 4. Nope, because this nope, this one's going to be a for figurative. That one has to be based on text. I'm going to stick with discussion prompts for 9th grade, and I'm going to say use four types of figurative language. I usually like to be more specific, but I'm going to give you some discussion topics, and then I'm going to show you another way you could do that with the informational text. So these are more like discussion at the beginning of a lesson or something you want to have kids do for a turn and talk. But if you want to do the informational text, go to create informational text, then this one might be one that you can have the topic make sure students have to make sure students have to locate different types of figurative language in the text. So now it's going to create a text for me. Okay, so we have figurative language talking about different things, and I can come over here and say create short paragraphs that require students to practice identifying So now I have this little informational text about figurative language. And now over here, I have created 4 short paragraphs on that students can use to practice identifying. So I can say increase the rigor of these paragraphs if I want to increase. And then they were able to increase the rigor for each one. All right, again, at the last part, I want to show you, make sure you are clicking on My Documents if you want to find where everything went, and everything you typed in the chat will also be saved here as well. There is a district support email, which is right here on your screen, and it is dedicated to teachers in Palm Beach County. So if you have any questions, feel free to email that. This is going to be recorded, so you will be able to see it later. And we do have, just for Florida, following us on Facebook and Instagram, Can You Dig It? So you will be able to see different tips and trips from different presenters around the state of Florida.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tamsin. That was a wonderful job. Really appreciate it. If you have any additional questions for Tamsin, go ahead and throw those in the chat. And while those questions are coming in, I'm just going to do our closeout, share some information. So let me go ahead and do that. Again, you are at the 11 o'clock session for leveraging Khanmigo Teacher Tools. If you need in-service points or would like in-service points, please make sure you register in ELM and the e-learning by the end of today. The course will close at the end of the day. Again, you will be required to do the implementation activity, and then you will get those points. That implementation activity is due by December 21st. So you got quite a bit of time to play around with the tools that you learned today. So we hope that you'll take advantage of that. Got a couple of additional sessions this afternoon. Tamsin will be back with us at 1 o'clock. So this is for our secondary teachers, and this is going to focus on how you can actually assign those Khanmigo learner activities to your students. And then later in the afternoon, we also have Brain Pop at 1:30. For us, join our mailing list, follow us on X, Twitter, visit the training website. All of those activities that Tamsin shared with you are located on the website, along with our contact information as well. And I'm just going to do a shameless plug here for our technology conference coming up in February of 2025. It is going to be at the new high school. We would love for you all to present at the conference and not just attend. Go ahead and take what you're learning today and showcase it at the technology conference. We're very excited to see what you have. From everyone on the EdTech team, we thank you for being here with us today. Tamsin, thank you so much for being with us again, and we look forward to seeing everyone back at 1 o'clock. I see there's one question in the chat from Wanda. Everything will be in different languages. Are you talking about the content in Khan Academy? I'll let you address that, Tamsin.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. You can ask Khanmigo to translate them into different languages. The languages that we at Khan Academy guarantee that you will get a correct translation is the Spanish, Portuguese, Hindi languages and English, but you are able to translate into many languages. Just know that it won't be a perfect translation because that hasn't been vetted in our account yet.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great lunch. We'll see you back this afternoon. Bye.